Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming News. Today is August 9th, 2021. It's a Monday. I'm joined by my fabulously fun co-host. I was trying to get some alliteration, but that's the only thing I can think of in like a second. Hello, Austin Taylor. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. I'm glad to know I'm at least fabulous.
Yes, fabulous, but not fabuloso.
Yeah,
That's what they call the cleaning product, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, it's fine.
I
Don't worry
couldn't
about
tell
it.
you.
It's a reference. It may or may not. It's some joke in high school I used to have with my friends. Anyway, there's some news this week. I want to start off with the Battlefield, Austin, because
Hmm.
what was it? It's like EA Play 2 weeks ago or something. I think they showed off their Battlefield Portal
Yeah, the whole like
mode.
multi-battlefield like game era maps thing.
Yeah, where it's like they talk about Battlefield 2042 as being like more of a live service, which kind of they were talking about more after EA Play. But yeah, there's like the three pillars, which is the core mode stuff, which is Conquest and like Breakthrough, and then they have like a maybe free mode that's coming later. That's like their something squad based thing. I can't remember the exact name of it. And then there's this Portal mode, which brings back modes from like Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield 1942. And it's like fan favorite maps, and you can kind of mess with weird shit. Like in their trailer, they showed off like, what if a bunch of 2042 people, what if a squad of 2042 people were fighting like a battalion of 1942 dudes? Who knows? And I'm like, well, that it wouldn't matter because the guns are always the same. But like, if that was a squad versus a bunch of bots, that could be cool. So like being able to do Portal with bots is really interesting, which I hope they do that because like Conquest and Breakthrough are gonna have bots in it as well. And that was a fun trailer. They had a bunch of medics with defibrillators fighting like World War II guys with knives, which is dumb. They had a bunch of they had their like references to like other
Yeah,
Battlefield
you know
stuff like they did in the trailer with the jet
your
thing.
your classic battlefield moments. The thing that I remember everyone doing in Bad Company 2, just running around the like semi-destructible maps, just with defibrillators in hand.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is evil.
I'm glad they're like doing references to like people's like highlight reels, which are like cool, like the jet rocket and getting back in the just sick helicopter moves. The I don't know if you caught it. There's like a dart you stick to the helicopters and planes when you shoot it. It's like a tracer dart that they had in there. The defibrillator thing. So yeah, this seems cool. Oh, here's the mode. It's called. I just had it. It's called Hazard Zone.
Hmm.
It sounds like it could be like a little battle royale, a little like Dark Zone from the Division, maybe a little more squad based, but who knows what's going on with that. But this seems cool, and they've talked about how they want to have it be more of a live service. How they're kind of like maybe gonna update it a little more, maybe like stick with it. They talked about they could either keep the 2 year cycle or like move it back a little and make it a little less annualized. Like this one, it's been a while since 5 because they took an extra year to mess with it, and then like Battlefront 2 was one of those years, and I don't think there's a Battlefront 4 being messed with right now at Dice, so we could see them like focus on this a bit, and then have like a second dev team working on it while maybe they're doing another Battlefield. Who knows? Depends on sales. I think I'm trying to think of EA ditches like their live service games if they don't do well. I know like there's some studios that do that, but like they put enough money into Battlefront 2 where they're like, we kind of have to keep supporting this or people were going to think we're shitty because we ditched it after the loot box fiasco. And I know like, they fucking put Visceral into the other studio and shut it down or whatever. Like, yeah, they do ditch studios, but I'm curious. I'm pretty sure this will sell well, but I'm curious to see what all happened to the live service stuff of this.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we've necessarily seen like an EA live service game um, in the way that like they're talking about with this game, other than like Apex. I don't think like Battlefront 2 is this constant, like every update for the first like year and a half of that game's lifespan is like almost always just an apology letter. Like please, yes, we know what we did.
Please
Just
play
let
our
us play your
game
game.
and pick up
Yeah.
these loot. Spend
Um
some money in the cash shop and play it. Please have fun.
yeah, like seeing this with like a battle, like we've never seen this like kind of emphasis with a Battlefield. These Battlefields have traditionally like engaged in that same sort of multiplayer space as as like Call of Duty games, right? As these like yearly or like every other year like release. Um,
Yeah, and I will say
and they want
like,
this,
sorry, go for it.
and they want this to be like a platform, right? They want this to be like their big multiplayer platform, which is part of why they ditched doing the sort of the campaign aspect of these games. Um, and I mean, we'll just have to see like how this gets updated, like how they support things like Battlefield Portal.
Yeah, and as these other Battlefields have come out, they have like inched closer and closer to it being a platform. Like for a while they stuck with the like Call of Duty model. And even before Call of Duty was doing it is they would put out their map packs for like even like 1942 and like Battlefield 2 on PC, your map pack DLC was a disc you bought at a store and installed for like the new maps and stuff. And then like Battlefield 3 and 4 both put out like the new season, your new maps would come out, but you have to pay for them. Whereas I'm sure in this, and they started it with Battlefield 5, where they made all the map DLC free for that game, as either a move to win back players or what they saw the space kind of shifting towards for like your DLC maps on a multiplayer game, where your player base is stronger because that stuff is free.
Yeah, these not separated.
Yeah, yeah. To where it's stronger because of that. And I think Battlefield 5 was. I wouldn't call it a live service, but it was close enough to it. It had like the fixings of it to where it's like, yeah, we had a battle pass in here. Oh, and we eventually got Firestorm or Battle Royale mode. We had stuff coming out, and we had our new Pacific maps roll out. But I think they're getting closer with having like the portal offerings and like you said, like getting rid of the campaign to focus on this and maybe having like you think about like a year, they're like talking about roadmaps a lot more and having a
Yeah,
couple more events littered throughout. Kind of like, you think about like Fortnite's live service, they are kind of trying to do stuff every month, be it some small stuff and a big thing. Whereas in older things, you'll have like it's so dry for a while, and then you get your big content hit, and then and then you do it for a while, and then it dries out again. You're waiting for like the ebbs and flows of like this, where when you focus on it for like a year, you have your rollout, and if it does really well, you keep rolling it out because it's a flexible like system that if it does well, you'll see content. If it doesn't do as well, you won't, and if it's in the middle, you'll have it slowly trickle through.
yeah,
Oh, and I forgot they're doing some mobile Battlefield thing, which is, Fortnite has
yeah.
the mobile, Apex is doing it, Call of
And
Duty
like
had their like 10-cent made.
those do big numbers. Yeah,
Mobile people love the mobile. I'd be interested in a mobile thing, but I don't. I probably played the Call of Duty like mobile game for like a week, but
yeah. Just get like a souped up phone. Get like a little like controller, like a backbone, phone controller, and boom, there you go. It's just gaming all over
I
wherever you want it.
I will say I did play a lot of the Titanfall mobile game. I don't know if you ever touched that,
Shut up.
but
No.
it was
Yeah,
really good,
it was like,
and I
was
put
it like
money in
a,
there.
was it like a tactics, right? Was it like a tactics thing? It wasn't like a
Yeah,
shooter.
no, it
Yeah,
wasn't a
with a little
shooter.
like,
It's close to like a Clash Royale where
that's right.
you have a deck that you make and you have units and they all have certain costs. Like your lower cost units are your fodder, and you drag them onto the battlefield and they go across. It's like a tower defense almost, where they have lanes they're going into. Like it splits into two lanes, and you're trying to destroy your enemy's core on the other side. So you would
Yeah.
drop infantry, you would drop like anti-tank infantry, and then you would have like your Titans you would drop, and like, oh my God, Scorch. Scorch is the fire one. I'm saying that correctly, right? Or am I thinking
Probably,
of?
yeah. That's fire.
Yeah,
Oh, the Titan. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's the
So
Titan.
he would have his canisters and he would shoot them in front of him the whole time, and they would AOE like take out other units. And it had like a ranked mode where I'm like rubbing it against as a free to play player against people who put money in and have like higher star ranked tones and scorches and like infantry units. So it's just putting money in there. Ronins are dirty because they're like Titan killers and shit. It was a good time. They shut it down unfortunately, but
Yeah,
it was fun to get a little extra Titanfall in like a little mobile game that was just kind of there. The matches were quick too. They were probably like 5-minute matches or something. Nice little push and pull and those things that happen. Where like, oh, if I'm leading, I feel really good because I'm just dunking on this person. Good times. I think that came out like that must have been like 4 years ago. I don't
yeah.
remember
It
what it
came
was
out.
called.
It came out alongside Titanfall 2.
Yeah, Titanfall Assault is what it was called. Gosh. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 2017. Let's see what else. Oh yeah,
Speaking about deck builders,
thinking about deck builders is you can build a deck of cards and fucking Back for
yeah,
Blood.
yeah. That's
Apparently,
the interface they went with. Yeah, because you have these Back for Blood, the Turtle Rock, a new Left 4 Dead made by the people who brought you Left 4 Dead over at Turtle Rock Studios. Turtle Rock is now experimenting with more like actual like class and like passive ability systems than you had in like a Left 4 Dead, where it was like you have 4 players, and if you're in like a PvP, you might also play as zombies, but you already had like predetermined abilities. Now they're like customize that, and it's sort of the way they decided to visualize that is deck of cards.
yeah, yeah, and you level up and you draw a new card, and maybe you'll get a
Yep.
good ability. Maybe you'll get something you didn't actually need. But yeah,
Yeah,
this is coming out
determine.
of the beta. It's like a closed beta that people can sign up for.
Yeah,
It's
this
been
was like
going
a
on.
preview. Yeah, because you had the closed beta last weekend. You're gonna have an open beta this weekend. And the other thing to note here is this is a day one Game Pass game,
Oh,
right?
very excited.
So you have a good amount of uh, like people. You have a good amount of opportunities to play this game. I'll probably check out this beta next weekend, this coming weekend. But yeah, it seems interesting. I don't know if I'm super into like the deck builder interface, right? To determine like a character's abilities. I don't know if I want something like I love Left 4 Dead because it is just this very simple thing. If you start in, you have like you're just a person, you're just a character, and you don't really have to mess with this stuff. You pick up guns, and that's what you mess with. I don't necessarily know if I want to be like, oh, my character can like heal a bit quicker, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I have like a suspicion that those deck building stuff will come in much more if you're playing on like the harder difficulties where you're kind of setting up yourself more as a role instead of like trying to become a very survivable and very cautious player, like as well as doing that. Whereas like I'm sure in normal modes when you're starting out and stuff, you you just set it and you forget about it and you like, oh, I leveled up here, I'll grab this card, whatever. And I'm curious if they'll have like separate stuff where maybe you'll have a hopper where you don't have cards at all and you're just going and just doing the Left 4 Dead thing, like you're saying, loading up, going in, grabbing your starter weapon, picking your character from the beginning, and going like, and as well they have like the different characters. There's like more characters to pick from. There's like they're starting
There's a
out with
lot.
6 or 7, and they all have like a unique starter ability and weapon. Like one of the characters starts with like a spiked bat. One of them has like a better pistol, etc.,
Yeah.
etc.
It's like if Left 4 Dead was a hero shooter is kind of what I'm seeing here. It seems,
Which I'm very into. I like
yeah,
I'm sitting here rubbing my hands together because I'm like, yes, hero shooters, abilities, customization, min maxing.
yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens because that beta comes out like that beta happens this weekend. So we'll see what's up. I'm interested in seeing like more now that we
Yeah,
can actually like
because
get
it's
with it. Because
been
this preview we're looking at is like literally impressions from a single patch.
yeah, because it's been what is it, 12 years since Left 4 Dead 2, and there has been a lot of like horde games that have come out and done some stuff. I feel like they're kind of picking from, like, what's the Age of Sigmar, Vermintide. They have their classes and they have like multiple characters and being able to customize that stuff. And that has gone over well. And it's interesting to see that kind of coming into this. Whereas, like, yeah, this deck of card stuff, it's going to be in the, like, PvP mode and then, like, your regular mode as well. Which, and they're kind of separate. I think they're saying is that they're separate, or they work differently.
Yeah, so multiplayer, you don't pick cards that like you earn, right? Like when you pick a class, you have like air quote loadouts, right? So you have preset cards for classes and loadouts to sort of play in that way. It's like probably like the way to really describe it is like, when like Mortal Kombat X came around and they're like every character that you select has like three different styles of play that you can pick from. It's kind of like that. Is my understanding.
Okay, that makes more sense. And then the guns have attachments too, which I didn't realize until they're kind of getting into the game a little more. Like you have your training shooting area where it has like a wall of attachments that you can throw on guns, and you find those in these little like loot boxes out in the world and stuff. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Or either you're setting it up. I'm watching the PvP where they're putting their equipments on their guns, but I'm hoping it probably is because it's going to be Game Pass date and date, but I'm hoping that the controls are a little more like controller friendly, because I know like first Left 4 Dead was mostly like a PC game that did come in like the orange box later. Like I don't think it released at the same time on both. I can't recall.
Yeah, it did. It was not orange box. Left 4 Dead had its own release.
Yeah, but like I remember it not, it's felt like a PC game in the way where like you didn't really aim down sights with a lot of guns in Left 4 Dead 1, which some games didn't have aim down sights, and that was kind of something that Call of Duty got, and like a lot of other games kind of followed suit with that.
It's a real sort of like Counter-Strike feel of a game, and it worked well enough on consoles because you're always very accurate in Left 4 Dead. Like you don't have to deal with the way that they create difficulty when firing guns in most combat shooters is like, you'd have things like recoil and that kind of thing. You don't really have that in Left 4 Dead, either of them on consoles. So like the problems I see when I play it now is like the PC version of Left 4 Dead does not do controllers that well, specifically as far as like movement more than anything.
Yeah, and I'm curious if I'll end up playing this more like the not aiming down sights a lot, kind of like how I played Doom, where you can kind of just hip fire and still be accurate, which is a very Left 4 Dead thing, is that you're still accurate when you're not aiming down sights, because it's the Counter-Strike kind of like aiming and shooting. So we'll have to, I'm curious how the if you're whatchamacallit, like not bullet bloom, but you're, I can't think of the word, Austin. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what word you're trying to think of. Recoil?
Is that you're like, if you'll still be as accurate when you're just hip firing as you will be when you're aiming down sights.
Sure. I mean, it's just aiming.
Yeah. Well, when you're like, in some games when you hip fire, you're like not as accurate, and the bullets have a little more spread. Like I'm wondering if you'll have a little more spread when you're just hip firing. So
for what I'm
curious.
Seeing right now, like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It looks like it's gonna be one of those.
Anyway, that's cool. I'm excited. The beta's gonna come out. I'll definitely mess around with it, and I'll probably have Game Pass at that point because it's just $15 a month, and I'm just thinking, Travis, just don't buy any other games. Just keep Game Pass, and if you see something on sale and you have the money for it, get it. But get the Game Pass first, because it's just like there's just so much stuff in there. It's cool. Okay. Hey, would it be surprising if the PS5 was the fastest selling console in U.S. history? I read this headline when it came out, and I'm like, I guess this was I think this was from like April 17th, but we were off last week. And I was like, oh, probably. I don't know.
No, it's not particularly surprising. No one can fucking buy them.
I think there are a lot more markets that are open right now. Like, I think China has been, like, having more access to consoles previously, and then there's just a lot more people gaming. So I don't think that surprises me as much. And that whenever these are on shelf, people are just probably picking them up, or scalpers are picking them up. But I think,
Yeah.
I kind of grabbed this mostly because it looks like Sony also hit their... I didn't put the link in here, but I was reading an article where they had hit their... they're not making these at a loss anymore, which usually happens later on. But I guess they're selling and stocking enough to where they've hit a point where, yeah, we're going to be making a profit off of these. So, hey, maybe I'll get a PS5 at some point. I wish those hard drives were bigger, but you got to keep them at 500 and 400, man.
If you can find it, maybe you will.
Yeah.
You know, if the market, if people just stop buying them up like crazy.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is on here? I closed that by accident. It was the Bungie crossplay thing. I think I remember it off the top of my head is that the crossplay stuff is kind of going to start be rolling out next season. And the way they're splitting the hoppers up is that for PvE, everyone can play with everyone. You're doing the campaign, you're doing raids, whatever. Y'all can be in the same stuff. If you are doing crossplay and you're playing with a PC player in PvP, you are going to be in PvP server. You're going to be in PC servers because you're with someone with a mouse and keyboard, and it recognizes that even though you're a console player. And then it has like the only console players and then only PC players who are hooked up to a controller. So they're splitting it up that way. And then they have like an ID system that is going to be below your gamer tag that will let you matchmake with other people. And then I think they are going to have like, I think it's it's your Bungie name that you can send people. And I don't remember if they have a code invite like some games do where it'll generate a code for like a lobby. No, they're not talking about that at all. But yeah, that's basically what they're talking about. I'm like, cool, keep doing this. That's where Bungie has been going with Destiny, and that's where it seems smart. They had cross save. They're going to have cross play, and I hope the next step is just cross buy so I can pick it up on one thing and go grab it, but that's locked up to consoles.
That's not happening.
No, but these are coming. These have been coming day and date to Game Pass too, which is like, oh, maybe I'll just play these on Xbox from now on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how like far the Game Pass release is, right? Because the thing that's on Game Pass now is it like the full game up to date on Game Pass? Because when it launched, it was like up to one of the expansions. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think when all the DLCs are on Game Pass right now, and I think Beyond Light launched with Game Pass on Xbox. Yeah, and then they're talking about, there's rumors that the other one will as well, and I'm sure it will, because like Microsoft has the money to be like, oh, we're going to pay you outright to let this come to our thing, and then they benefit from it too, because if you have this already, you don't have to buy it, and then you're getting people who may or may not interact with like the microtransaction stuff, which is like, it just kind of works out for both parties, it seems like.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, notably, they're not like, for whatever reason, they're having a problem getting like voice chat between platforms, but that'll get solved at some point, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be solved when Xbox and PlayStation 4 let you install Discord, and it just works. Ha ha ha.
Turns out Discord.
Yeah, I think there have been talks about Sony getting Discord at some point, which could be cool. Other cool stuff and multiplayer modes is Ghost of Tsushima is getting a standalone release for its Legends mode, as well as like new content for it. Which for me, it's like, oh, cool. I played that more than the campaign. It's $20 for the standalone stuff, which is like, oh, it could have been free, but you lost some people there. That's y'all's fault. But
I mean, they're not gonna make it.
It could have been free.
That was never. No.
Just the Legends mode.
If you want if you want them to add stuff to it, it's not gonna be free.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, for it being like a standalone. Like, if you have the game already, you can access it. But yeah, it's got like a 2v2 rivals mode, which is going to be like some kind of competitive, like, both teams are defeating waves of enemies at the same time, and you can use Magatama to harm the other team, and you can block purchases and other stuff. So that sounds cool. It's like a riff on their survival mode, and I think they're going to be adding more up in the gear level, and then adding some more modes and rebalancing survival. Because remember, we talked about it when it first came out. It's been a while, but survival was like the harder modes would take like 40 minutes because at the difficulty tiers they would just add on more waves instead of making it more difficult.
Yeah.
And more animals to pet apparently coming in the Tsushima the director's cut, which is I don't see when this is saying, but Legends is coming out. The updates are coming out August 20th, so soon it seems like. So that could be cool. And September 3rd is nope. The standalone release is coming out September 3rd, but maybe the content's coming out August.
Well, it's like the release is September 3rd, and like for each week, I mean between September 10th and October 1st, they're going to be giving you new content.
And here it is. The director's cut is August 20th. It's when that's coming out, as well as like an update.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Good stuff. Yeah. I like that mode. I know that Stray Cat got a gameplay trailer. Was it from the Annapurna? Like,
yeah, it was the Annapurna interactive show.
I don't think I saw what was coming out of there too much, but I watched the trailer for Stray and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I remember the trailer coming out before. And I was like, oh yeah. In my mind, I'm like, this is like Uncharted, but I'm a cat or some shit. That's my really shitty explanation of what this game is like. But
yeah, so Stray is a game where you play as a cat that's been separated from its owner as you sort of explore this cyberpunk dystopian city that's filled with androids. You get a little android pal. It's the backpack the cat has. It's pretty great. And it looks like you're going to be solving a number of puzzles as you explore this area. I'm not sure what your actual interactions with its denizens will be. There's a little picture here in this write-up where the cat is sitting at a bar with like three robots, and it looks great.
Yeah, you have like you'll have like dialogue windows open up when you're talking to the robots, because I think you get a robot backpack that'll translate it at some point.
Yeah, it helps you translate.
Yeah, and it'll do some stuff in the environment and help you like solve puzzles. It's like a drone that you meet that'll go into a backpack that you end up getting. But it's cool. It looks fun. You're climbing up stuff. It's atmospheric. It's neat. Was there anything out of the Annapurna thing that like you saw? Because I don't think I read anything about it.
I mean, everything at that show was really good, with the exception of there's a bit of continued thing with a game we'll talk about later. The Outer Wilds DLC is cryptically revealed, will probably be pretty great, hopefully. There's the Neon, I believe it's called Neon White, which is like it's this action platformer where you're expending cards to do actions such as shoot demons and such. That looks pretty interesting. It's from Ben Esposito, who's the person who made Donut County. Just a number of other stuff. Like there's a lot of like developers announcing that they are working on projects with Annapurna more than like anything else, really, and like names that I'm interested in seeing more from more than anything.
Yeah, now we can kind of get into the like what I would call the Activision Blizzard block of kind of things happening over the last 2 weeks, kind of starting from the it was like July 20th was when the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filed a suit against Activision Blizzard in like the Los Angeles Superior Court against instances of gender-based discrimination, inequality, and harassment throughout Activision Blizzard's network of companies. And the rally was I believe it was a reaction to the like interactions from the emails that were coming out from like the heads of suit to this from Activision Blizzard, right?
Yeah, yeah, like emails that we read, like the what we got from Jaylen Brack, who's since stepped down as president of Blizzard, sort of talking about how he's actively fought sort of actively fought bro culture is what he called it, even though demonstrably not true. And also responses from people like Fran Townsend, who called the suit. I don't want to say I'm not gonna air quote, but like kind of just called it preposterous. I don't have that email in front of me, but her sort of sentiment was that the suit is distorting the workplace culture of Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, and this article I have from the Washington Post was saying that there's about 350 people who kind of were at the rally that all had signs, and it seemed like it was between 10 a.m. Pacific time to about 2 p.m. and some stuff going on here. I'm glad this happened. Curious to see what else will keep happening as well. I don't remember if they responded to the walkout, but I know there have been other things that are happening. This is what happened on the 28th. August.
Yeah, well,
Go for it.
with the walkout, right? We see like a couple of things. Um, in response to the walkout, Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision, talks about how their initial response was tone deaf and how they brought in a legal consulting firm to help deal with this. Problem with that sort of statement and that action is that the employees were not involved in the selection of this firm, and the firm they selected. I don't have the name in front of me right now, but the firm they selected has been involved in anti-union, in like sort of courses and spreading of anti-union rhetoric throughout Amazon, right? As that company has faced a wave of workers attempting to unionize. The other thing that we see here is a number of Ubisoft employees pen an open letter in solidarity with the employees of Activision Blizzard who are walking out. What else happens is the Activision Blizzard employees, they form a coalition, and in an open letter to management, they list 4 specific demands. Um, I'm going to go over these real quick. So let's see, including they want an adoption of policies that would improve diversity and representation. They want transparency around employee compensation based on gender and ethnicity. They want a third-party audit of the company's like HR reporting structure, which has failed several hundred people, seemingly several hundred people, according to this lawsuit. And they want an end to inclusion mandatory. To the inclusion of mandatory arbitration clauses in current and future employee contracts. What that means is basically like mandatory arbitration is meant to keep employees from taking an issue and making that into like any sort of lawsuit, right? So like they have to, if they have a problem, they have to solve it within the company, as opposed to making a lawsuit to seek reparations for damages within like legal court.
Yeah, and then it looks like the next thing that happened, unless I'm missing some stuff, is that August 3rd that Jaylen Brack steps down from being the Blizzard Entertainment president.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, let me see if I have some other stuff in this article. Brack has been with the company for 15 years, and he had been the company's president since 2018. He serves as the leader for the World of Warcraft development team. Or this is Morheim, who co-founded Blizzard. Or this is him just... Yeah, he serves as the leader of that, and Morheim, I guess, describes him as an inspiring leader.
Maybe we don't have to like talk about the merits of people who oversaw a culture that led to this, right?
Sorry, I was just pulling quotes out of the article.
Yeah.
I guess that's how they describe him. But yeah, this, he stepped down.
That's how people are going to describe him. He steps down and is replaced by Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra as like who like are now joint like presidents of Blizzard.
Yeah. And then it looks like August 6th The Overwatch League sponsors reevaluate support following the lawsuit. Coca-Cola's stepping back to revisit its plans, which are like all like, it's like, yeah, Activision Blizzard has this esports stuff with sponsors who pay for this, and this is, in companies' minds, this is bad PR. It loses money. In addition to just being a terrible situation for anyone working at these companies. So these are like reactions to this and them limiting their like what quote unquote business, like limited marketing relationship. In addition to like other companies kind of listed, I'm pulling off like a Verge article. It's like T-Mobile and a couple other ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course they have to put out these sort of statements saying that they are considering perhaps pulling back from this league. It's not a good look, I'll say, if they were just like, we'll keep supporting Overwatch League.
Yeah, so you have like points of things like this happen, then you have all these tendrils that come off that start affecting different stuff. Obviously you have like a lot of streamers who have like, there are like World of Warcraft streamers who have made this their business and ways of making money that I'm sure are like thinking about, do I continue doing this? Do I come off of it? Like I get, when I was in the initial article, like Washington Post also has an article talking about like on YouTube and Twitch, the Activision Blizzard harassment lawsuit leaves creators reeling, where they talk to a couple of streamers and they're kind of summarizing, like talking about Twitch streamers who play World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Overwatch, like a multiple number of other like Activision Blizzard stuff, which are, very popular on like Twitch and YouTube, in addition to like, Hearthstone and stuff like that. So we're going to feel like the waves of repercussions of this, and hopefully it having like an actual solution and changes to this company.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, fundamentally, like, I think any concrete changes that happen within Activision Blizzard, they're going to take probably at least a year, right? Like, I think the employees understand this, like, with the demands that they put forward. Um, like, we're gonna sort of be in this limbo of like we don't quite understand what's happening until like things actually start happening, and that's gonna take people need to plan. It's gonna take time. We don't know like what the employees are doing after the walkout. We said they formed a coalition to put forward those demands. We don't know like if those demands aren't met, what happens afterwards. Perhaps unionization. We haven't really seen much from that, and it's gonna take time before we get like concrete answers as to how people within the company are gonna move forward in the wake of all this.
Yeah, and I think those seem like the couple of stories that have kind of come out so far of what has been happening since then. Was there any other ones that fell under like that I didn't kind of talk about yet? Because I'm trying to remember if there was anything else going on.
I mean, that's the gist of it. To my understanding, there was a report that came out from Axios today where they spoke with developers about the sort of the fan boycotts, the calls for like fans to boycott their games that are happening. And I only read like a couple of clips from it. There's a developer who's talking about how they need you to keep like playing and like interacting with your games, so that way the company is making money, so that way the employees are still paid. Um, and like have jobs. Of course, this being Activision Blizzard, again, a company that bragged about record profits and then fired 800 people. So like you know it's it's still like complicated around like how we interact with games in the wake of this, and how like the people in Blizzard want us to interact with their games in the wake of this. It's but as far as like things that are happening within the company, that's more or less. I think we hit the gist of it.
Yeah,
Stories.
and so we'll probably continue covering this as it goes along as well. And then the other thing coming out, this is from a different developer. This is this is coming out of Fullbright, one of the studios behind Gone Home, and
the studio,
and co-founder Steve Gaynor stepped down following complaints from employees. And I think you have a couple more like stuff about this than I do, because I didn't get to go over the article yet.
yeah, so this is a little bookmark for the pod. This report comes out August 4th. Like, I think like 30 minutes before this report comes out, Fullbright's Twitter account posts an update saying that Steve Gaynor has stepped down from like studio director to a writer and is working with the studio through Annapurna being the publisher of their next game, Open Roads, which we saw briefly during their developer showcase um, a couple weeks back. So what happens here in this, what this report alleges, is that a number of employees, like I want to say number of a bit over a dozen, right? Because like Fulbright at its max was 18 developers, is currently at 4, including Gaynor. So about give or take 12 a dozen developers have quit that company because of emotional abuse from Steve Gaynor that he has sort of perpetrated within the company for apparently years now. And it's you see a lot as you like go through this. They're talking about like how he is like emotionally abused, like gaslit employees, employees sort of talking about how they were attracted to work here because of the stories that their games are telling. Gone Home is about a young teenage woman as she sort of has her awakening to the fact that she is gay, and like the friction that creates with her family, and then her decision to like run away with her partner. Tacoma is a game about a group of like astronauts in a hyper capitalist like future who are basically set up to take a fall for a really bad accident that would allow the company that owns the space station they're working in to push forward legislation that will allow them to fully automate space stations and get rid of human labor and save on costs. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who had left the studio were very interested in working here because the stories they're telling are, they include some sort of like angle that focuses on the like marginalization of people. And that's at the time, especially with Gone Home, was not something that game studios were doing. And the reality
Yeah.
is that it's run by a kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, like one of
I'll
the
say.
quotes from this Polygon story describes like a situation where multiple former employees who spoke with Polygon described the work environment as controlling, a place in which staffers felt undermined and demeaned by Gaynor because of Gaynor's status as the co-founder of a beloved indie darling. Some former employees said they were worried about being blacklisted from the industry, and as well as like him being very controlling or just being very like micromanagey or just like coming off into like creating like a toxic workplace.
Um, and the sort of situation that unfolds in the wake of all this is very complicated because Gaynor is still technically working there. He's now a writer, like who's working with the developer through Annapurna. They probably can't get rid of him because he's a co-founder, right? There's probably some legal situation happening there. And like in the wake of this article, he puts out a really shitty like series of tweets, right? Where he talks about this is the quote from Steve Gaynor's statement. My leadership style was hurtful to people that worked at Fullbright, and for that I truly apologize. Probably shouldn't call what you were doing your leadership style, eh? This is straight up just like emotional abuse. And it's you know like, and we talk about like these instances of like really toxic workplace within like AA studios, and something that other people were talking about as we were getting these allegations from Blizzard is like people who were saying, um like trying to hold the indie space up as something where this doesn't happen. The thing is, like, this does happen in the indie space. There are just a lot less like avenues for people to approach. Like, there's no HR department in a lot of indie studios.
Yeah, and I remember like it's like Indie Game the movie had a lot of kind of you know hard workplace stuff, like conversations coming up to me when like the two developers of Super Meat Boy had like a very rough like
Yeah, very rough
way of
falling
making
out.
that game and falling out from each other, where they were working extremely long hours to put out a game that they were getting at each other for stuff, and that you can kind of see that fold out when you have more employees still working on like smaller constraints of something that is like the scope of this game is bigger than maybe they have managed for, and then it turns into personalities and bosses who just, should not be leading people, or just do not have like the chops to like understand like how you should talk to people, or how you should like,
Yeah.
if you have people working for you, in what ways you should actually like coach them, or like how you talk to them about making something, as opposed to like creating something that's like micromanaging and angry, or somewhere along the lines of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, this case specifically sucks. He's like, this is someone who, targeted, like, who's like abuse targeted, like, female employees, and is currently writing a game about, like, a mother and her daughter. Like, he's like currently writing a game that centers like women in the forefront of its narrative, and it really, like, the ending quote here is that it turns my stomach to think that he still gets to write these games about women's stories when this is how he treats them in real life. Like, it sucks.
Yeah, and we talked about that when we were talking about like good representation and like positive representation of women juxtaposed against like, oh well, actually this is just the easy way to do it and market it, to where it's like, but we don't actually do this in our own studio.
Well, yeah,
It's like
it's like
marketing.
it's selling diverse action figures. Like, there is, we want like representation on screen as opposed to like allowing for diverse studios to exist, is like that kind of dichotomy. It's like one is certainly like one is cool. Like, representation on screen is at least, like, if nothing else, like, cool. Like, people like that, and there's a reason people like that. Like, it helps that people like it for a reason. But like the things that like we do need to start focusing on is like creating spaces within studio culture that allows like diverse ecosystems of people to like succeed.
Yeah, it sucks. Like I've seen Steve Gaynor giving interviews on like websites, and like he's been on like Giant Bomb before and stuff, and it's like, oh, this guy turns out not that cool of a dude. So that sucks. I hope Annapurna will do something about it. Yeah, it's like you're saying, like some companies are just there to protect the company and not the individuals.
Yeah.
So, nothing might come
Well,
of
again, we don't
this
know.
from the corporate level, but there will probably be fan like interactions to what this is going on, and the articles being posted about it are going to continue like the conversation about, hey, this is actually wrong that this is happening in the studio, etc.,
And
etc.
we don't know. Like, Annapurna doesn't own Fullbright. Like, Annapurna partnered with the studio to make Open Roads.
Okay, gotcha.
And what like and the real like sort of messy legality is he's a co-founder of Fullbright. What like can that company do to like minimize, like, if not fully get rid of Gaynor, to actually minimize his role?
Yeah,
And right now their answer is have him work through Annapurna.
yeah, and if not that, then it would be like you see this happening where s- members of this studio will split off and make similar types of games, or like the studio itself won't, people like places like Annapurna won't partner with them because of articles like this coming out, but then other places will. So like all this other stuff, we'll have to see like what's going on as it keeps going forward. But yeah, it sucks. I love Gone Home. It's a cool game. You haven't played it yet. I mean, maybe don't buy it. Maybe, I don't know, watch someone play it on YouTube. I don't know. It's a tough situation, but yeah, I don't know. Support the developers of it too. It's a weird place to be stuck in between. Like, for worse stuff with Activision, I'm probably not going to support them, but it's like, I don't know. I think
I mean, the
I
thing
think Gone
is the
Home is
people,
worth still picking up because it's like such a
the people
weird,
who,
interesting game.
I mean, maybe the thing is like Gone Home was very special for a moment in time. Like it's since then, like we've done, like we have better walking simulators, we have better like clear stories in games. You know, it's I don't think it's necessarily worth going to go pick up Gone Home. Like there are like this article, like amending the number of people I said at the studio. There's 6 people here. There's 6 people left at the studio. A lot of the people who have been emotionally abused by Steve Gaynor have either quit that studio or quit games. You know, like I don't like I think I would say like the same thing here that I say with like Activision stuff. Like I don't think you necessarily need to put money into this company right now until we see
Yeah.
like an actual steps being taken, like really taken to separate this company from Steve Gaynor, because I don't know if I want to support Steve Gaynor.
Yeah, I agree with that. It sucks because I have like this game like specifically has like a special place for me, and it's like storytelling environment and like just the things it was doing. It's a shitty situation for
Yeah,
all these companies that are like putting out stuff that people get really attached to, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's also fucked too. But I mean,
yeah,
that's like low with a lot of things and like products and getting attached to stuff is that they're just like unintentional or like a lot of bad things that are attached to it that you don't know about till later or comes up when like purchasing choices and stuff, you know?
yeah. I mean, and that's where you get philosophies like there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, that kind of thing. Which like at its worst is used as this kind of like way to brush off like sort of um facing the fact that like what you're doing is like giving money to like shitty people. At its best is kind of used as a bit of like forgiveness to be like, yeah, I get you bought the thing. It sucks. Like I'm not particularly like I'm not angry at you for buying it, my dude. You know, that kind of thing. Like I'm not angry that you went and like bought this thing because it's just it's stuff that's on the market. It's there. Not everyone most people don't interact with games news in the way that we do. So like most people are not going like most people who might end up just accidentally stumbling into Tacoma or Gone Home are not going to read this article. Like
Yeah, definitely.
it's whatever.
Well, it's definitely a lot easier. I've thought about this a little. It's a lot easier to not like pick this up because there's shitty stuff attached to it, but it's a lot harder for me because like to save money, I shop at Walmart, but that's like a things of means. But also, you hear shitty things about Walmart's employee practices. They've gotten better, but who actually knows? It's still the capitalism thing. Things like for example, like one of my relatives worked at a 99-cent store, and the reason they keep their like prices so low is because they pay their employees minimum wage $7.25, and they usually don't give them raises, and they work those people extremely hard. So yeah, it's like capitalism consumption sucks. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's like money over everything and corporations over everything, which is like I don't remember what I was listening to, but they were talking about that. Like, it might have been some Joe Rogan stuff where they were talking about like how capitalism can like a lot of these companies are just for money instead of for other stuff, for employees, for et cetera, et cetera.
Smash the proletariat, baby.
Yeah, yeah,
The workers will seize the means
yeah. Which is like, hey,
of
hey,
production.
pro unionize, let's go. That's the thing. Unions aren't perfect, but it's a step towards something better at least. So that's probably what the note I'll end on this week.
Whip out your guillotines, boys.
Oh yeah, just French Revolution
And
it.
I should say I'm not like specifically saying that we should go cut off the heads of people like Bobby Kotick or Steve Gaynor. This
No.
is not a call for violence. This is a joke. I feel like I'm legally obligated to put this statement in here.
All right, and that'll wrap it up for this week. Thanks for joining us. If you're got this far, and like we said, I'm curious to see what actually happens out of this, and I hope something better comes out of it. But hey, I don't have my hopes up too high because things aren't going too well in capitalism as it turns out.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see what happens with Fullbright, like post open worlds. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Like that.
Yep. All right. Thanks for joining me, Austin.
All right, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Until next week.